All right, today we are tearing apart a viral motivational speech that, let me tell you, it pulls no punches. This whole thing is about raw action, absolutely zero excuses, in facing the one question that could pretty much define your entire life.
So, right out of the gate, it throws this at you. Are you living in theory? Safely tucked away, just imagining all the great things you could do? Or are you living in practice? Are you actually out there in the arena, getting your hands dirty and doing the work? Because everything, and I mean everything we talk about today, it all comes back to this one choice.
Okay, so how do you get from theory to practice? Well, the speech argues that it all boils down to this tiny but absolutely crucial little bit of extra effort. It's not about some massive life overhaul. It's just about pushing a little bit harder than everybody else is willing to. Just 5%. That's the number. According to this speech, that tiny little margin is all that separates a champion from the crowd. Think about it. It's not about being a superhero. It's about making one extra call, doing one extra rep, finding that final push when you feel like you've got nothing left. It's such a small number, but the impact, life-changing. And this is where it all gets real. See, the 95%, they live with what if. And the speech makes this argument that the pain of regret, of never knowing what you could have done, is so much worse than the pain of actually failing. Because when you fail, hey, at least you get an outcome, you get an answer. But that question, what if? Man, that just leaves you wondering forever. And this quote just paints the perfect picture of what's at stake. That opportunity you didn't jump on, it doesn't just vanish. Nope, someone else takes it. Someone else goes and knocks on that door. The speech makes you look at that image, watching someone else live the life you could have had, all because you held back that last 5%. Oof. All right, so you want to be in that 5% club. Where do you even start? The source is brutally clear on this one. It starts with radical 100% ownership. No more blaming your past, your situation, or anyone else. It starts with you, and it ends with you. And there it is, the blunt, unfiltered heart of the message. According to the speech, holding on to old stories and old pain is just a prison you build for yourself. What happened back then doesn't matter anymore. What matters is the choice you make right now. Your power isn't in changing the past. It's in taking total control of your present. But here's the thing. This radical ownership stuff isn't about tackling your biggest problems on day one. Nah, it starts small. The source has this great analogy. You can't just walk out your door and fix a giant corporation if you haven't even bothered to straighten out your own garage. You gotta master the small things first, and then life gives you a shot at the bigger ones. And this is what that small-scale discipline actually looks like. The speech flips the idea of toughness on its head. It's not about being physically tough. It's about emotional courage. The real test of your strength? It's facing the messes you've made, having the conversations you've been avoiding, and giving the apologies you owe. That, right there, is what true ownership looks like. So, once you've taken ownership, what's next? Total commitment. The speech says that just dipping your toe in the water is another way of hiding out in theory land. You can't kinda sorta commit and then expect a 100% result. It just doesn't work that way. When you procrastinate, you're choosing this fake safety of hypothetical excellence over the real, messy, human business of actually trying and failing. You're never gonna find out if you'll succeed by half trying. Committing fully is the only way to get a real answer. And that answer, that knowledge, is power. So the process is laid out pretty clearly. First, you decide. You think it through. But once it's go time, you commit. You dive in, and you go all the way to the end. You see it through. Because only then, only when you finish, do you get the one thing that matters more than winning or losing, a definitive answer. Now, when you start to actually push yourself and commit to something, you know what's coming, right? The doubters, the critics. And this speech has a really specific and honestly a powerful way of dealing with them. You don't ignore them. You use them. See? It's all about reframing it. You take every piece of negativity and you twist it into a positive. Someone doubts you? Great. That's fuel for the fire. People walk away? Good. They just made room for people who actually support you. They laughed at you? Awesome. Now you have something to smile about when you cross the finish line. It's like this mental judo flip where all their negativity becomes your power. And this is the fundamental difference. Spectators, they try something, they fail once, and that's it. They sit back down. But winners, according to this, winners fail constantly. The difference isn't that they don't fail, it's that they have this unshakable belief that forces them to get back up again and again and again. They're just too headstrong to be stopped. When you really boil it down, this all comes back to ownership, doesn't it? I mean, why would you let somebody else, somebody sitting on the sidelines of your life, write your story? Their story for you is based on their own limits, not your potential. You have to own your own narrative because nobody else is you, and that is your greatest strength. So after all this, the ownership, the full commitment, the resilience, what's the end goal here? What are you building towards? The speech presents this really interesting idea it calls the dangerous good man. Let's break down exactly what that means. So, first things first, you have to be a force for good. The whole foundation of this idea is about service. It's about being able to protect the people you care about, to provide for them, and to actually contribute something positive to the world around you. It's a responsibility to others. Okay, now for part 2. The source defines dangerous not as being a threat, but as being capable. A dangerous person is educated, disciplined, wise. They don't have to be the loudest person in the room because their competence does all the talking for them. They're formidable because of what they know and what they can do. And this right here is probably the most important point of the whole thing. The speech is very clear that being dangerous and being a threat are totally different. A threat is a bully. A dangerous person is someone who has the capacity for great action, but keeps it under control and only uses it with wisdom. The argument is, you can't be truly good if you aren't also capable. Ha! And this just perfectly illustrates that final piece of the puzzle, wisdom. It's one thing to have knowledge, right? To just collect a bunch of facts. But it is a whole other thing to have wisdom, to know how and when to actually use that knowledge in the real world. That's the difference between just being smart and being truly effective. And that's where we're gonna end it. This one single sentence, it just wraps up the entire philosophy of this speech. It's not about trying to avoid failure. It's not about what other people think. It's an internal promise you make to yourself. It's a relentless, headstrong commitment to your own story, where the only possible outcome you will ever accept is the one you set for yourself. So the only real question left is, what does that final win look like for you?